I have like this notebook in my office, which if we ever do it, if we go there, I'll show it to you. It's like this little notebook. It's like this little notepad where I wrote down all my inventions when I was like 5 or 7 years old, and they were pretty funny, but they were all like biomedical inventions, like how really inspired by sort of the bionic man.
He has an active mind. He's always thinking. He's always, trying to figure out how to do something better.
I would say the biggest challenge in building this house is his idea that anything is possible. I remember in our first meeting with the builder, and he kind of shared his vision, and he wanted a pool, but he didn't want like an ugly blue cover on it. He's like, what I would love is like a clear plexiglass cover that can, with a push of a button, cover the pool, and during parties can double as a dance floor.
I mean, I saw that in a James Bond movie. I mean, why not? Yeah, I mean, what's the common link between all the things that I do? I mean, everything is creative. I think that if I were to say, like, what's the common link? It's all about creating something from nothing. So whether it's cooking, where you've obviously didn't create the onion, but you're going to turn it into something else, whether music, writing, putting a sound into the air that isn't there before, and building technologies that have never existed before, and all the stuff that I have done is all about creating something new, So that is pretty much the central theme. And enjoying life and really appreciating life, both through enjoying good food and wine and friends, but also creating technologies that improve other people's lives.
He's constantly engaging in more things. I think I was surprised that he's helping a friend of his, their son. They're now cutting an album, and so they're cutting the album at Josh's studio basement, and he's helping them do this and cutting tracks, and it's just fantastic. So these are the things that I go, they surprise me, but they don't surprise me, because it's sort of, I'm not surprised because he loves these things and he's helpful and he wants to help people. I'm surprised because I go, where do you have the time to do these things?
The common trend with all his interests would probably be creativity. I mean, music is a way of creative expression. He went to college as a music major. That's still his happy, relaxing place.
Music was a big piece of it. I mean, I'd say music dominated my childhood and early, teenagerhood. I don't know.
He thought that's what he wanted to do because that's what made him happy. And he hasn't given that up, as you will notice. He still has kept that as part of his life and decided he needed a paying job, so it was probably a good choice not to stick with it.
My interest in creating things for medicine and for health really started pretty early, but it wasn't until I got into engineering school that I really appreciated how you actually build things and how everything works. And at the same time, looking at the body and realizing, my gosh, this is just this amazing machine.
When we co-founded Acclarent, this company for ENT surgeons, we went incredibly fast.
We invented a new procedure called balloon sinuplasty. Balloon sinuplasty is a way of treating chronic sinusitis, which is a problem that affects 30 million Americans every year, and a way of doing it without invasive bloody surgery, and a way without all the pain and suffering and recovery and cost that traditional endoscopic surgery causes.
I would say it wouldn't have been possible to be so successful so fast without Josh, because of the energy he brings and the commitment he brings, where we were able to, I mean, sometimes it felt like we were working around the clock, but we were just able to bounce ideas off each other and get to issues and work through them together quickly, and in a way that you didn't feel like you were stalled ever. You were like, every interaction moved the ball further down the track, and I don't think there's anyone that I could have worked with to do that.
The essence of any success I've had has been a result of just dogged determination against whatever obstacles exist.
Josh and I have had situations where we were stunned when there were some folks in various positions of power that were against this great technology we brought to bear. When you have folks telling you that this is going to be, kind of a win-win-win, where it's better for the doctor, the patient, and for the finances, like it's cheaper, you think you got something that's great. And one of the things that really hit us is that we had some physicians who were really not in favor of this, and because it affected how they did things and how they came and attacked us.
I mean, change is not readily embraced. So when you're somebody who's an entrepreneur or an inventor, this is sort of the everyday issue.
Josh has been great at helping also figure out, how do you help physicians understand the value? How do you weather the storm? It wasn't about being victims. It was always positive. What can we do?
But his philosophy that he pounds into my children daily is never give up. Never give up. The only true path to failure is giving up.
I can remember having dinners with physicians and having them tell me, I like you, Josh, but I'm never going to use this thing. I'm just telling you right now. We can have a nice dinner together. I'm never, ever going to use this thing. And we spend the whole dinner around talking about why it makes sense and all that. Still adamantly no, no, no. And maybe for the next year or so, they don't do anything. But then a colleague starts doing it, and they see that the patients that used to show up in his OR going over to that other OR and getting it. And then they say, well, maybe there's something to it. And then suddenly all the papers come, and then they change their mind. And then they become, then they're on the speaking tour, they're talking about it at meetings, So it's really, it's encouraging to see that when you have something that really works and makes a difference, it eventually will get adopted as long as you don't give up.
As stressful as it could be, I think he gets a lot of satisfaction at the idea of how many people's lives he's touched.
I remember a really touching story from an older woman who, basically was because of her sinusitis. She really was not enjoying life at all. And she's had a constant headache, and the kids were always a nuisance, and she felt angry because they were making noise even though she had this pounding headache. And then she had balloon sinuplasty, and headache was gone. And she could go out and play with her grandkids without being angry at them, and she could go ride her horse again, and all that kind of stuff. And that's why we do what we do, for stories like that.
I remember early on meeting someone who, I don't know if they were rivals or maybe someone that, one of the few people that didn't get along with Josh, but I remember hearing, it's like, that Josh, he always wants to be the good guy. He always wants to help somebody, and and I just kind of found it funny. And the problem is,
I love to do something that people are gonna enjoy. I mean, really, when I cook, I never cook just for myself. I cook for a big family, or I have friends or something like that, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing them enjoy what I've created. And similarly, whether it's the wine technology company, Corvin, or if it's the health technologies that we create, there's tremendous reward from playing a role in making the world a better place, and just actually doing something that's never existed before, and it just feels pretty good.